Why don't we run you through the Fuso grid as they head off on their warm-up lap. So pole position goes to Shane van Gisbergen. Was in the Fords at Stone Brothers last year. He's moved across to Techno Autosports. It's been a controversial one. Second row of the grid, Lowndes and Coulthard. Coulthard has been super strong this weekend. There's Jamie Wincup. More race wins than anybody else on this circuit, 7. He claimed his 4th driver's title in an unbelievable year of 2012. James Courtney and Scott McLaughlin side by side to round out the top 10. Scotty Pye, another one of the youngsters and full-time debutants, against Russell Ingall. 220th championship start, puts him equal second on the all-time list. The Dodo Insurance Racing, Dean Fiore, is back for another full-time drive, and so is Alex Davison after a year off racing the Porsches. It's great to have Alex back. Todd Kelly and Garth Tander, then Rick Kelly and Jason Bright. While Jason Bright has been struggling to find the pace that he had in early testing in his car, you know that the sister car, Fabian Coulthard, is way up the other side of the grid. Here are the two Erebus Motorsport E63 AMG Mercedes of Tim Slade and Lee Holdsworth. Tim Blanchard is in the Dick Johnson Racing outfit this weekend, and so too is Johnny Reid there in position number 27. And Mauro Ingall is the third and final E63 AMG, and there's a problem here at the rear of the grid for Mauro. That's Betty Clemenco, the team owner, who can only just smile and have a laugh. She's got Ryan Madison, the CEO, next to her of this brand new race team. They took over Stone Brothers Racing. Mauro is a highly experienced touring car driver out of Germany. And he had a fire in that car yesterday. It made a mess of the engine bay and all the wiring underneath. So it's been a busy night to get that thing cleaned up. On board with Lee Holdsworth, you'll hear the difference in the Mercedes cars, and David Reynolds is having a lot of chat back and forth. He looks as though he's got some problems there on board the Bottle Ford. And nobody's got more problems at the moment than Mauro. They're still pushing him up the front straight, and in true Australian sporting style, this massive crowd is giving him a good razz. There's Russell. So this will be the last time we see him on the streets of Adelaide. He's got such a special affinity with South Australia. Will Davison, winner on the Sunday here last year. So comes into this race as the defending Clipsal champion. It first came here in 1999. It's a Hall of Fame event. More than 250,000 people come through the gates. It's as big as it gets. Yet it is the great unknown. The track's the same, all the bumps are still there, but all of the cars have changed. So we've got 2 cars in pit lane. We waited so long for the car of the future. Well, the future is here. On the day the game changes forever, and Shane van Gisbergen can't get off the grid from pole position. Mark Winterbottom takes the advantage, and Craig Lowndes is going to dash into turn 1, just squeezes into third and has to go over the curbing in car 888. What a disaster for the pole sitter van Gisbergen. Winterbottom just loves it. He shoots away. There's van Gisbergen, the VIP entry, now about 6 or 7 back. So it's Coulthard second, Lowndes third, Wincup fourth, then Jonathan Webb. Will Davison and James Courtney get a little bit too close for comfort around turn 7. Unleashing the beast onto Bartels Road, the Peter Brock Straight, and heading down towards turn 8 at 245 kilometres per hour. The most terrifying corner we've got. Through cleanly, and the 2 Nissans, the Norton Nissans, have a look on the inside at turn 9. James Moffat and Michael Caruso. So first lap around, as van Gisbergen tries to pick his way back up through the field. There's Scott Pye in the Ecol entry, and Winterbottom's got a problem.
I heard him on the radio. He's talking about a 3rd gear problem. So there's a problem with the car straight into the pits. It was an amazing jump for him. It was into the race with a margin that you'd dream of, and already back in pit lane.
And that just opens the door for Fabian Coulthard. really comfortable in the Lockwood car.
Inside Pepsi Max Ford Performance Racing. Big moment for Lockwood Racing and the boys at Brad Jones. They had a wonderful test day at Sydney Motorsport Park a couple of weeks ago where their cars were first and second at the end of the day's running. And to be leading this race, given all of that blood, sweat and tears that I talked about before, is a big moment, but it's early days. Coulthard, Lowndes, Wincup. So it's Red Bull 2 and 3, then Jonathan Webb 4, Prema, Davison, Courtney, McLaughlin, Ingall, Van Gisbergen. That's a huge drop back for the pole sitter.
Neil Frosty's car is up. It's a transaxle problem. You can see the frustration in his eyes at the moment. He is waving his hands around inside the car. The crew are all over it, but boy, what a way to start the year for this incredible car.
Let's go, let's go.
So they've attended to the issue with Murrow Ingall's car. This is the car that, if you were with us yesterday, you saw a problem up at turn 4 with an oil leak and a fire, and a lot of damage as a result of that. Look at the margin that Coulthard's got. It's just over a second, and we'll get an update on that as they cross the control line.
Yeah, and now what they're thinking with the Ingall car is a fly-by-wire problem. As we know from many used cars, and a lot of them still do, are operated by a cable from the throttle pedal to the engine. Well, this one does it electronically, so it's probably something to do with software, or certainly an electronic issue in there.
Jason Bright has a problem as well. He's come straight into pit lane, so that imbalance in the Bradley Jones Racing Crew garages continues as Mark Winterbottom heads out. There's Bright.
Yeah, Matty, he actually doesn't have a problem. This was a strategy they just told me they were going to do. They're in early. They said that gets rid of their fuel problem. They're fuel solid for the rest of the race.
Well, that's good news, because Jason was struggling with that car throughout qualifying. Let's ride you down here to turn 8. They get right out onto the left-hand side of the circuit. So many cars have collected that concrete. We know it's not pretty when it happens, as Will Davison has a dive on the inside of Alex Prema, and James Courtney goes with him. So Prema loses 2 spots. If he can't muscle his way back in, and he can't, he cedes the point.
Yeah, Matty Frosty back out there. There was a tense moment there as Mark Winterbottom and the crew were getting the Pepsi Max car back out of the garage. Of course, the last thing they expected was Jason Bright in the garage next door to come out alongside them. So they almost backed Frosty's car straight into Jason Bright, I should say. But all good, Frosty back out on the circuit.
It's an interesting point that you raised, Barretts, because one of the things that happens at the beginning of each new season is the neighbours along pit lane have all got to learn to live with each other. And it would be fair to say that as we go to the replay of the start, Van Gisbergen going nowhere, that there are some teams who had better relationship with others than... So if you can read between the lines, some of them don't get on well at all. When you've actually got to try and deal with all that, I'm not saying that was the issue with those two. As we look at the replay there of Van Gisbergen, absolutely stationary. How he didn't get drilled is a minor miracle.
And how's the reaction time from Jamie Wincup? I thought this was a real concern when we were on the in-car cameras during the warm-up lap. We saw David Reynolds, and I wasn't sure if he had a big problem or he was just conversing with the team. It appears to be a big problem.
Smoke in the car of car number 7, Todd Kelly. So we'll keep an eye on that.
This was one of the great unknowns, Crompo. These guys didn't know how to turn these qualifying cars into race cars because they've never been raced before. Van Gisbergen up on the inside in car 97 past Ingall. So that moves the pole sitter back up to position 8.
So Fabian Coulthard doing a very good job. Fastest lap of the race on the previous lap. And has got a 1.1 second lead over Lowndes and Wincup.
Mark Winterbottom back in the garage. When they put the car up, he had no trouble getting the gears. He could get gears. They thought it was fine. They sent him back out. When the car gets back down on the ground and the weight of the vehicle is on the tyres, they just can't get gears. So as soon as it's weight loaded, he can't move the gear selector at all.
That's a weird one. And I'd really be interested to see what the cause of the problem is in car 55, also out of the Ford Performance Racing stable, because I hesitate to guess that they may have a similar problem. So Van Gisbergen trying to make amends for that tardy start. He's now out of Techno Autosports with his teammate, Jonathan Webb. They're
going to pit Todd Kelly this lap in the Jack Daniels Nissan Motorsport entry, so stand by for Kelly to come in. He's been talking on the radio about smoke, so they'll have a look at that.
It's Fabian Coulthard who leads the way here in the streets of Adelaide this season. is now officially on.
Slow it down. You're right. Turn it off.
Welcome back to 7 Sport, the V8 Supercar Championship, where they're trying to settle into a groove on lap 8 out of 78 today. 250 Ks is this race. That's Tony D'Alberto back in the Holden in car number 3. And look at Todd Kelly. Jack Daniels Nissan forced into the garage. He has now come back out, though, and it looks as though there's still smoke coming out of that thing. There is too. So some big issues, these mechanical issues that we were talking about that were always going to flare up under race conditions with all of these new cars and new makes. You never knew how it was going to play out. Well, you throw them into the most brutal circuit you can find, street circuit, and so too for car 17 out of Dick Johnson Racing. Tim Blanchard has a problem as well. Larko, this is what we're expecting. Like you said, mechanical sympathy, there is none.
Yeah. Sorry, Matty. I was actually just talking to Rob Crawford down here at Kelly Racing. Yeah, it's an oil surge problem. So it's not a serious matter. It's spilled out a lot of oil. I don't think they'll have a drama for the rest of the race in that regard. So not too much of a concern.
And Todd actually actually jumped on the radio to the boys, and it was quite smart. He was urging them to get him out, even though they may not have got on top of the problem entirely, because he didn't want to go a lap down. I think he ultimately has anyway. Oop, this is the reason why you can see that damage in the corner of Tim Blanchard's Advam Dick Johnson racing car. I had a good chat to Tim just prior to the race, and he's really looking forward to settling in. Says there's a long way to go with sorting the car, but really enjoying driving it. All the drivers are talking about the stability of the medium and high-speed corners. This is David Reynolds. He's been in and out of the pits.
Well, it's a tough day, and I'm just with Mark Winterbottom, and we just see Frosty, new gearbox for your car going through at the moment. But you do so much work in the pre-season to get ready, and then race one ends like this is tough.
It is. Yeah, I don't know. At least I led my first lap, I guess. That's the only positive. But controlled bits in the category, you know, the guys have done a good job, but things are going to fail. And I thought I'd get further than one lap, to be honest. But yeah, disappointed. But they'll fix it, and we'll go out and go again. But yeah, pretty frustrating, really.
It was tricky too, wasn't it? Because when you were in the air in the garage, it was fine. You could get gears. Once it went down, there was a problem.
Yeah, I can get first and second gear, but when I try and pull third gear, it rips the gear stick out of my hand and keeps popping it back into second. So it would have been a long day running around in first and second gear. But yeah, they're going to fix it. We'll try and get out for the end of this and get a read on the car, I guess, and use our pace. You know, good launch. I think we had a very good car, and we're a few points down already. But yeah, at least my boy's having a good day at home. It's his birthday. I saw him smiling before, so that's not all bad.
Good stuff. See you soon, Frosty. Thanks.
Yeah, young Oliver turned 2 today. He's got a new baby brother, Austin. And Frosty just can't take a trick around here. He's yet to have pole position. He's come close so many times. He's finished second in the races here twice and third twice as well, but yet to win a race. And that's his first DNF on the Adelaide Street Circuit since 2008 on the Sunday. So they will rebuild and come back tomorrow.
Yeah, he was involved in that big shunt there. There was a whole pile of cars involved in that. One of the other interesting things that we'll be looking for over the course of the weekend, as we look at Lee Holdsworth down the inside here of Michael Caruso at the Battle of the Newies, is just what the impact or the effect may be of the shallower tyre wall. It's about 12 mil difference in total height compared to last year's tyre. Because remember, the tyre is in many respects part of the suspension of the car. So we'll be watching to see whether or not there's an impact on the rim. It's clearly changed the ride behaviour of the car. Around this place in particular, when you pound over the curbs so much, it's something you've got to be very cautious and careful of.
So with the 18-inch wheel, the bag, the sidewall of the tyre has been compressed. And what Neil's saying is that the ride, as a consequence, is stiffened. And over those sorts of curbs and up on these bumps, up Wakefield Street, you see in the braking area these bumps, it does make a marked difference. The guys are complaining about this corner here more than any other corner on the track because of the way the cars ride the bumps and how skitterish. We saw the guys in qualifying yesterday have real drama stopping the car for turn 4.
So this little battle group we're checking out, we're riding currently with Lee Holdsworth, position 18. In the Mercedes, looking back to a Nissan of Michael Caruso, David Wall, Wilson Security Entry tucked in behind them. Then it's Tim Slade, goes in search of fresh air. The Heavy Haulage Australia E63. Behind him is Johnny Reid. So new makes, new drivers, the lot.
James Moffat was saying this morning that he thinks with the Nissan that if he didn't own the car, that he could almost get through turn 8 with just a lift off and not brake. So the stability at high speed is very, very good. He just thinks he'd probably crash at doing it.
So Will Davison, position 4. He is now officially leading the Ford Performance Racing charge because we know Mark Winterbottom is done and dusted. David Reynolds is down in position 27. The other car out of that stable, running now under Charlie Schwerkolt, is Alex Davison, who's returned his mid-pack in 14th.
This is a great shot, just looking at Will working hard here. And the pedal box in the car, one of the control items, been built by 888 Race Engineering. They won the contract to supply the category. The actual pedal pads are free. You can move them around to your own driver preference. But what this does illustrate is just how busy the boys are on this racetrack. So this is turn 9. It's getting a little bit closer to the back of Jamie Wincup. So Will's 4th at the moment. Actually, a fair bit of damage on the front left corner of Jamie's car, including missing the front left headlight there.
Neil, sorry to jump in, mate, just a really good opportunity to have a quick look at one of these new gearboxes about to go in, or transaxles. So gearbox here, differential there. That used to be separated by about 4 foot of tail shaft. Now it's together. So all your rear suspension, which we'll show you later, independent, sits out here. Lovely unit, really, really nice. Just quickly, we talked a lot about mechanical sympathy. I'm hoping you blokes upstairs, the commentary team, I know you'll give this bloke some mechanical sympathy, because when I look under the bonnets of these cars, I tell you, everything's not where you think it is.
Yeah, we'll cut you some slack, Larko.
Yeah, so don't dive through the driver's door and go hunting for the gearbox there. Wrong end.
We'll cut him some slack for about 5 more laps.
Yeah, not much more than that.
On.
But it's a really good point, because there's just so many things underneath the skin that have changed.
So your Coulthard leaderboard, Fabian Coulthard leading the way. It's a 1-2-3 for Holden at the moment. Will Davison is flying the blue flag on lap 13 out of 78 at the Clipsal 500. Stick around on 7 Sport.
Push for 4.
One of the 4 Nissans in the field is in pit lane. This is Michael Caruso, the Norton entry, car 36. With 64 laps remaining on this long, hard day, Fabian Coulthard, the Lockwood Commodore, leads the race by just under a second. And this is 19-year-old Scott McLaughlin. Oh, that's in front of him. That is Russell Ingall. Has collected the wall. So while we're in the break, I did hear, boys, Scotty McLaughlin say, old mate's hit the wall, but he's still going, it's all good.
Also intercepted a radio message that Jonathan Webb might have given the wall a rub as well. We'll watch that.
He's got some drama going. You can see that flurry of activity there for Ingall, looking down at sway bars and brake bars and he's trying to get into pits. And this is Wincup in pit lane.
Have a look at that left front guard for you as well. Not extending the box, brake and clutch. Whoa. Okay, we're good. That's okay, we're good. We're taking our time. Leave. Okay, leave the guard, Huey. Rears are done. Waiting on the fuel. Good to go, good to go.
Yeah, just interesting to have a look at Jamie Wincup's busted front and left headlight there. You might not think that's much, but what that does do, it allows high pressure air into that area of the car and down around the under tray of the car. Remembering you're trying to create low pressure down under there that brings that, remember we were talking about the downforce earlier this morning on V8 Extra. Well, that will affect that, so that might take a toll on that left front tyre over the course of the day. Makes your braking a little harder as well. Surprised they didn't throw a big chunk of duct tape over that right there.
Well, I think the plan was to have a look at it, Larko. They said they were going to, but I'm pretty sure that Jamie just overshot the box by a little bit, and it only takes a split second to lose a couple of seconds, if you like, in pit lane. So they abandoned that idea. They'll have a look at it later. Watch this. There's never any... Ah, that's why. He collected a tyre along the way as well. So
Yeah, he overshot and got the tyre.
Yeah, mate, and I sprinted about 100 metres from the other end of the pit lane. I overshot the box by about 1.5 metres myself.
Yeah, but you were 10 minutes late.
And Jamie's dropped back into the field in position 18. It's 38 seconds off the lead of the race.
It's a great view from the cockpit of Will Davison's Pepsi Max Crew FPR Falcon. That Larry bar that used to go 45 degrees across the windscreen's gone. As we told you earlier, it's now polycarbonate. It's not glass. It's a much clearer view. The telemetry and the sounds of this game will tell the story.
Great job, mate. Have a think about bars and bias.
That was a good, clean lap that we were riding with Will Davison as Garth Tander comes in for a service.
He did a great job. He made 10 positions in the first segment of this race, so forged his way forward.
He got up as far as 9th before this stop. Even though it was a woeful qualifying performance by his own admission. They had some starter motor problems with that car yesterday, and then he was one of those guys that got hurt by the oil that went down late in qualifying. And he said this morning he's in for a long afternoon. But sometimes the guys that have done a lot of it are well served by just pacing themselves. So there's another moment for Tim Blanchard in car 17. This time it's Scott Pye that nails him down at turn 9.
Interestingly enough, after yesterday, Tim Blanchard in the Advam Falcon said the most important part of this weekend is staying out of trouble. He's a bit of a magnet at the moment.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of an each-way bet because he probably should have seen Scott Pye, although Scott did give him a hit and he hit him reasonably late. You can see the amount of smoke now. Clerk of the course and race directors and officials are making lots of calls at the moment as to what they're going to do with that car because that is excessive at the moment.
They're giving it a mechanical black flag, so they're actually going to get it brought in and attended to. It's too much.
It's not hard to find Todd Kelly around the circuit. Right now he's sending out smoke signals everywhere, and that guttural sound of the Nissan. You know it's coming. So here's Scott McLaughlin in car 33. You remember last year Alex Premer was in 33 at the Fujitsu GRM stable. Well, Scott used to have that number when he was a kid in karts, so Gary Rogers has let him have the number again, and he heads back out. By the way, just before we get to you, Larko, I can report to you that Craig Lowndes is closing in on Fabian Coulthard at the top of the tree. There's just half a second between them.
Yeah, Matty, I was just going to reflect on some of the strategy options as we try to demonstrate at the head of the show. So we're seeing about what half a dozen or so cars come through on that earlier strategy. Teams like to get their stops out of the way early, but the bulk of the field seem to be prepared to stay out there and split those tyre runs that we spoke of. And I think one of the clever things to do here, because we talk about how much they don't know about the handling of their cars, is to actually get a read on how far your car will go on a set of tyres. So it's quite a good play.
So Car 9 in the garage, car 7 now in the garage. We've shown the mechanical black flag. Todd Kelly has decided to go right in and have a good look at it. And there's Maro Ingall's entry.
And there's still red-hot pace on, Matt. The fastest lap of the race is Coulthard with a 22.70. The last lap, Fabian did a 23.54. So only 0.8 of a second away from their fastest lap in 20 laps. They're still pressing on pretty hard, and that's where you've just seen Lowndes just make some little steps in the last few laps. He's now only half a second away. You can see that gap, and he was only 0.2 of a second faster. A lot of damage on the front of Courtney's car now.
Much like Jamie Wincup's car, isn't it? So both those cars wounded heavily in the front left-hand corner. Pretty hot out there too. You know, notice when I was out in the grid before, there's absolutely no cloud cover at the moment, so the track surface is bathed in UV. That's hard on the tyres.
One of the things that we were expecting was to see the lap record fall. It hasn't yet. It's still a fair way off. Tander rubbing with McLaughlin. And it's got trouble written all over it, this one. It's just a matter of where it happens and how bad it is. Well, it happens down at turn 9. It wasn't too bad in the end.
Yeah, Garth was trying to crimp him into the apex, the inside of turn 9 there, so he could be better positioned for the next corner, but he didn't actually get it done because he had to go the long way round.
And no further action between the Scott Pye Blanchard incident.
Gee, these two have really pulled away. There's 6 seconds difference between this leading pack of Coulthard and Lowndes, and then third, Will Davison. So these two guys are really racing away.
Lowndes is showing pretty good speed at the moment, isn't he? He's got a little bit of additional pace over Fabian, but it's been a great start for the Kiwi. Very, very good start.
Lee's just saying that the amount of heat inside that car at the moment, he can't drive the car. The footwell is so hot, and he also can't see out of the screen, so he's got some serious issues going at the moment, Lee Holdsworth.
He's been picking through the field pretty well, Scafey. He's up to 11th after starting in 23rd. Of course, there are quite a few cars that have pitted, but he's up towards the pointy end. And if this is happening to him on lap 21 out of 78, and as you said, Croppo, it's hot out there and it's getting hotter. It's heading towards the 30s. And Lee's going to be in for a long afternoon. It's not unusual at all to see drivers come out of the car with blisters all over their feet and suffering heat exhaustion at the Clipsal 500. Just a few of the issues they've got to face. Coulthard leads the way. We'll take a break and bring you back for race 1 in the series.
Okay, mate. Well, get your mark, your tyres sealed. Spend a bit of time in the footwell there for you. You're right to go when you drop, mate. Pit lane's all clear, mate. Right to go when you drop. Right to go. Go, 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 go. Track should be clear when you exit, mate. Don't want to bin it. Talk to me from turn 7, mate. I lost that. repeat. Faster than the guys that have pitted.
These are the factors that you have to deal with at the Clipsal 500. Our race leader, Fabian Coulthard, using every inch of the curbing and coming right up towards the tyre bundle. Down there at turn 1, he's got a 1 second lead over Craig Lowndes. Will Davison is in third. Shane Van Gisbergen fourth. 29.3 degrees is the temperature outside. Inside the cockpit, it'll be close to 50. Look at this Lee Holdsworth. He was complaining inside the E63 AMG that his feet are just burning. So they brought him into pit lane. They're trying to do whatever they can to make sure that he can get through the rest of this race. That would be extraordinarily difficult to try and drive this car with from here on in.
Yeah, Matty, what they did was grab some fire-retardant material they could find and just basically, as you saw, strap it to the bottom of his boot. As he explained on the radio earlier, he's just finding it so intensely hot in the cabin today, which is what these guys are all experiencing at the moment. As you said, the ambient temperature is about 30 degrees at the moment. Inside the cabin's about 60 degrees. The Pepsi Max crew boys were telling me they put a heat strip, a heat sensor on the accelerator pedal and found that the accelerator and brake were heating up to 92 degrees Celsius. So that's what Lee Holdsworth is trying to deal with at the moment, that intense heat around the footwell that's generated through the engine and comes through the firewall.
And there is nothing worse, Barrett's, when the pedals are so hot that you actually have to pull, you have to change feet, you have to pull your right foot away from the brake or the throttle and move them around and try to get the heat away from the surface of the pedal. It's extraordinary. And you just can't concentrate on driving the car properly when it's like that.
In the meantime, his teammate Wincup's up to 10th, but he's actually lost margin to Coulthard. Remember I said it was 38 seconds a few laps back? It's out to 40. So nice clean stop for Lowndes. He rejoins. He pulled up on the mark, and that was very important. He was cautioned about what had happened to Jamie. So that one for them was a much nicer, needed textbook stop.
It's an interesting aspect, isn't it, with that heat on your foot, because for many years, many drivers, myself included, and I'm sure you guys, we would actually arrive here already with that fire retardant or heat retardant material cut out like inner soles, and several of them put in your boot before you started the race. So maybe they've forgotten that one, I don't know. Down here at Jack Daniels, they've actually pulled the power steering pump now off Todd Kelly's car. That looks like that's where the leak is, and isn't amazing? With everything new on this car, that looks to me like a speck of power steering pump we've been running forever.
No, they actually built that system. I was looking at it under the car the other night. So that's one of the systems, one of the many things that's been created in-house there. And these are the sorts of things that we talked about earlier in the weekend, the proving and the reproving of equipment. It's like we're going back to an earlier era in motorsport. We've been through almost 2 decades now where we've evolved the cars to being bulletproof. Now you're going to have to go back and do R&D, make them work, make them last, perfect things once again. This is Coulthard, race leader in the pits.
And a critical stop for Fabian and BJR, because they've been operating very well.
We've got a clear pit lane.
Their cars were strong at Eastern Creek City Motorsport Park. They've been fast here all weekend. He's led the race. And these sorts of stops against Red Bull Racing and FPR will be the comparison for that team.
Interesting that he only just got nipped inside the top 10 of last year's championship by James Courtney, but he was a contender all championship year.
Well, there's a change.
He's been getting stronger, so that's actually positional change. Wincup's made solid ground there. So he will be disappointed to be looking at the back of the Red Bull Holden now after that stop. Puts him in hot air. And there's a little bit of a mental hit that you take for that as well.
Exactly. That's what I was saying about the stop, because Lowndes will be up the road. This has effectively gone from first to third, and you've been in a zone, you've led the race, you've fended off Lowndes in the first part of the race. Now all of a sudden you're third. It's not a nice spot to be.
However, Fabian's heavier, but with new tyres. Jamie, by comparison, is a little lighter with his fuel burn, but he's also on slightly older tyres. So you'll find that as soon as those tyre pressures normalise for Fabian, he'll be all over the back of that car. But then that's what I was talking about before. He'll be frustrated by staring at the rear wing. Catching him will be relatively easy. Getting past him, if he has got any additional pace for these next 2 or 3 laps, is the very small window of tyre performance as Scotty Pye enters the lane. Then he's got a very small window to do something about it. Otherwise, he's going to read part numbers on that rear wing for a long time.
track position is king in this, on this sport, but at this circuit particularly, track position very important.
Craig Lowndes has just done the fastest lap of the race, a 1:22.55. When Will Davison comes into the pit lane and does his service, it will mean that Lowndes will be back out in front. On lap 27, out of 78 here at the Clipsal 500. Hope you're enjoying it. The V8 Supercar season on 7 Sport. The 15th year of the Clipsal 500, the 28th race that we've had on these street circuits. They're relaxing in pit lane at the moment. Warcam's getting a workout when they come through turn 8. Race control yet to activate a safety car, which is very rare for this circuit. And on the track, top left of screen, there's a battle between Jamie Wincup and Fabian Coulthard. Now they're 3rd and 4th on the road. Craig Lowndes is ahead of them. And ahead of Lowndes is Will Davison, but Davison will have to pit. So you're effectively looking at 2nd and 3rd positions once the field is cleansed. And these guys are having a real battle. Looking at the rear of the Red Bull Racing Commodore of Wincup, down to turn 9. Coulthard has a little look on the inside. He's been close enough to have a dive, but he's just trying to pick his time.
So he's got good pace on these tyres, which is what I alluded to before the break. So even though his car's a bit heavier, tyre grip's the thing that gives you the time yield in this business. So there's a very small window here where the tyres are effectively green or new, where it's got terrific mid-corner pace, great brake stability, and importantly, very good traction. And the traction gets him off the corner quicker, and that extrapolates all the way down the straight. It's like a free kick that you get, but you don't have it for very long before it eventually turns into wheel spin, and then it doesn't translate.
If he doesn't do this soon, what you're saying is that he'll be hooked there forever, and that's exactly right. It's got to be done very, very shortly. A lot of damage on the left-hand front there of Fiore's car and the left-hand rear. Looks like he's had a spin. Might have gone into the tyres around the back in the 90-degree section.
One of 2 cars out of Lucas Gumbrell Motorsport. He's gone heavy up there, turn 4.
So this is the area where the cars have been at their least stable. Through the end of Wakefield Street, they're having trouble pulling him up on the bumps, and he's got it right out of shape up there. He's come out of the groove where there's no grip. Greg Murphy's in the Holden Racing Team bunker. We'll see him joining the Holden Racing Team at Sandown and Bathurst later in the year. So, so Dean's just ended up wide of the line. The car's literally bounced and ended up in the wall. Look at this, Coulthard again threatening at turn 11.
One of the psychological games at play here too is trying to make sure, I guess, if you're the rest of the field, that Jamie Wincup doesn't get into that groove that he had going last year. Remember, he's in the same boat as everybody else now. He's in a new car that's different surrounds. They don't want to let him get comfortable, so it'll be vital for Coulthard to make a statement, a personal statement.
100%, Matt. That's the point. It's the gamesmanship. It's professional race drivers with a clean slate to start this season, and Fabian's got to have a dive down the inside. It'll make a massive difference to the team's momentum and rhythm in this sport if you can go and pass the series winner from last year.
So the only guy that in contention at the moment that hasn't stopped is the race leader, Will Davison. So they're running an opposing strategy to the guys that we're looking at here. They're going to run that car right out. But once he takes on the fuel and the order's corrected, he drops back in. He'll be about 5th or thereabouts, which will leave Craig Lowndes as the leader. So as you can see now, we're seeing an equalisation of performance between these cars. Really, I think because of the bumps at turn 4 and the way the cars are riding, I think down here's the only really solid spot for Fabian into turn 9. It's going to be very difficult from where he is now. You can see he makes some ground, but it's not enough. He's got to get right up alongside that car and well and truly halfway past it in order to be able to affect that move.
Shane Van Gisbergen is the next car behind them, and he's punching out good sector times to try and join that battle at the front. So the pole sitter is currently in 5th after missing the start completely. If you've just joined us, Murrow Ingall has had a lot of mechanical trouble since the start. He's down in 26th for Erebus Motorsport. Todd Kelly and Mark Winterbottom, both mechanical failures. They're out of this race.
Will Davison is leading, but he's losing time on those guys that have come in for tyres. So I think strategically they've run too long now, and it's actually hurting his lap speed. He's about to come in on the radio chat. He'll be in this lap.
Yeah, so I think it's more about managing the tyres over the distance of this race now, the way the cars are behaving, versus playing with where you drop your stops for fuel. I don't think it's so much of a fuel race.
Around turn 13, he'll hug the right-hand side of the circuit. There's the entry to pit lane.
He's 33-odd seconds up the road, by the way, from that battle pack that we were focused on before of Wincup and Coulthard.
Yeah, nice to see it. Nice straight run in. Look, Tim is going to be looking over your shoulder. Yep. And we know we're going to
we know
the mirrors as well. We'll tweak the mirrors.
Tim's
going to be standing here in the corner.
21 seconds for the transit time, and about 28 seconds to fill the car. So the cumulative loss will put him roughly 10th when he comes back out, based on the gap that he had after this first stop. This will be cleansed into basically the whole field having done a single stop.
So Lowndes, Wincup, Coulthard, Van Gisbergen, Webb, Prema, they've all gone past. And now Will comes out of pit lane. He's got Dean Fiore ahead of him. A whole stack of cars coming up the straight, including the Holden Racing Team entry of Garth Tander and Jason Brighton. That's exactly where he slots in between those. So there's James Courtney. There is Scott McLaughlin. Tander goes up on the inside of Dean Fiore. Will goes up on the inside of Jason Bright. The field has been cleansed. It's game on. Craig Lowndes and Jamie Wincup lead the way from Fabian Coulthard. out of 78 laps. Craig Lowndes leads this race. This angry pack of Wincup and Coulthard continue their fight as they go around Johnny Reid, who has joined Dick Johnson Racing with Wilson Security backing. Shane Van Gisbergen started on pole. He's in 4th position. That's the bright yellow Techno Autosports VIP Pet Foods entry, car 97. Lowndes, of course, won the first race, held here back in 1999. He's won 4 races overall, but his last race win on the streets of Adelaide was back in 2006. He was behind the wheel of a Ford Falcon BA back then. And right now he's got a 13.8 second lead over his teammate.
Incidentally, they're going to bring Lee Holdsworth back in and fatten up that pad on his foot because he's still having trouble with that temperature in the cabin at the moment. Murrow Ingall, car 9, SP Tools, just coasting through turn 8, and it's off song massively, so it's not running on all 8 cylinders there at the moment. Hear it in the background.
Is that a long association?
Is it the same problem? Yes, not accepting acceleration.
With Mercedes-Benz, Murrow Ingall. He's been an ambassador for AMG for quite a while, raced in the DTM series in Germany. Lives in Monaco, currently residing on the streets of the Gold Coast, and of course German-born.
Stay with Davey here, but the fastest lap of the race, Craig Lowndes, just then 1 minute 22.5. Great job. Let's ride with David Reynolds in the Botlow FPR Ford into turn 1.
I reckon it's one of the best views to really understanding the nature of this circuit. You get to see the proximity of the walls, the lift of the car off the curbs, even the wide open spaces around you down at turns 13 and 14. Really good view of this street circuit, the bumps and bruises that it brings from ground level.
Hey, Matty, I knew I'd get an opportunity to show you this great new transaxle gearbox. Here's one opened up for us. There's the diff in there. Obviously, the front of the car's up that way, so you've got your orientation right. But talking to Mark Winterbottom's guys down there, what they think is wrong with his car. In here's your set of 6 gears, and there's these dog rings and these dogs. I don't know if you can see those little square boxes, if you like. And when I use a shifter, you can see all of those moving back and forward, selecting different gears. And those little dogs, if you look at that one on the dog ring engaged on the dog on the gear, now if they're not nice and square, if they've been chunked off or taken away on the edge, they'll go in and then they'll jump back out. That's what was happening. So it may not be a gearbox problem overall or a transaction problem, maybe more of a gear issue.
Well done, Larko. That was actually quite a strange thing for that to happen so early with Mark Winterbottom, because they've been running all day yesterday. They've been through all the qualifying and all the things, and then to have that drama so early in the race, very strange occurrence. So more to be found out overnight when that gearbox gets pulled apart later on this evening. This battle continues with Fabian Coulthard right up behind Wincup, and he probably should have had a dive when he first come out, and it's parked in behind Jamie. Jamie's speed is nowhere near the Craig Lowndes speed. Lowndes currently has a 15-second gap over his teammate. He's doing a really good job, driving it as well as we've seen him drive the car.
These drivers are being stingy too this year. Nobody's donated a side mirror down at turn 8 yet. I guess it's only early days. Lap 38 out of 78. Welcome back to the Clipsal 500, the first race of the season. We'll take you through the highlights at this stage. And this was the very poor start by pole sitter Shane van Gisbergen. The VIP Pet Foods car stuck on the grid. And they all went arrowing past him. He was standing still. So Mark Winterbottom led the race for the first lap. But at the end of the first lap, had to come straight into pit lane. Mechanical problem, couldn't select third gear. That would eventually force him out. It didn't take long for the issues to start flaring up, quite literally, for the Nissan Altima of Todd Kelly. The smoke coming out of the back of that car. They sent it in, sent it back out. It would end up back in again and out of the race. So we've had one Ford out, one Nissan out. Tim Blanchard for DJR hit the wall. Russell Ingall, the super cheap auto, Walkinshaw Commodore hit the wall. Garth Tander and Scott McLaughlin, the youngster at Fujitsu Racing, they got a little bit too close for comfort. Lee Holdsworth suffering so badly in this heat, they've had to tape up his foot, or actually his race boot, with fire retardant material. Spray it, do whatever they can, but he's burning up. Dean Fiore, the Dodo insurance car, also hit the wall. So there have been 3 cars taken out of this race. Maro Engel out of Erebus Motorsport, Todd Kelly Nissan Motorsport, and Mark Winterbottom at Ford Performance Racing out. We started with 28, we've got 25 on there, and 20 of those are on the lead lap. Craig Lowndes, meanwhile, is having the time of his life. 16 seconds is his lead in this race over his Red Bull Racing teammate of Jamie Wincup, who continues to hold off Fabian Coulthard.
If he keeps up this work rate, he's on 89 career race wins, grabs another one, 90, and starts to rattle the numbers of old mates standing next to us here at the moment, Matty.
Yeah, the all-time winning record in the Australian Touring Car Championship belongs to Mark Skaife. Bridie can't get it in there. It's quite often an issue here at Adelaide. I saw Maro Engel try to do it throughout some of the practice sessions yesterday. He just missed it completely.
You've got a clear pit lane here. Stop on the mark.
So just further to that, for those who like their history books, yeah, Mark Scaife, 90 race wins. Craig Lowndes currently on 89. Lowndesy has an eye for the history books. He was the first winner on these streets when the Clipsal started back in 99, and he is on course to equal Mark Scaife overall and become the first winner of the new era of V8 supercars. But still 37 laps to go.
That was very costly for Jason Bright.
Well, Todd Kelly's day undone by a hose on the power steering. Todd, I mean, that could happen anywhere, anytime, but you must be pretty proud of the way these cars have come up. Everyone's talking about how good the Nissans look and how good they sound.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's a shame, but unfortunately, when everything's brand new, you don't find these things out until you actually get out there and have the problems arise. But unfortunately, one of the Norton cars just went past, and it looked like there's a bit of smoke coming out the back of that one as well, Caruso's car. So hopefully we can get at least 2 or 3 Nissans over the line today, and hopefully we can fix this for tomorrow.
Todd, has it been a big adjustment as a driver? Is it a much different car to what you were driving last year?
Yeah, it is. It takes a bit of getting used to, and more importantly, when everything's so new, it takes a bit to learn how to set the car up. So the old menu of things that you have to try for certain problems is almost non-existent now. We have to start from scratch, but the guys have really seemed to get a good handle on that, and the cars are pretty fast.
We look forward to seeing you have a great day tomorrow, Todd. All the best.
Thanks.
Reliability is going to be the key factor for everybody. But more importantly, these teams that have had to start from scratch and do it quickly. You think about Erebus Motorsport, they've managed to piece together 3 brand new Mercedes in 3.5 months. I mean, it's just such a super quick turnaround.
Just further to what Todd was discussing there a moment ago, just where they lie in the field. His teammates, his brother Rick is in car number 15, Jack Daniels Racing, Nissan Motorsport, 12th at the moment. Not a bad performance. Car number 360, James Moffat. In the Norton entry, he's 15th, and his teammate, Michael Caruso, is 16th. Remember, Michael was the best qualifier of the group, so it's a good, solid run from those guys so far. They're just outside the top 10 as we watch this battle between Will Davison and Scotty McLaughlin. These fellas are battling, and that was a pass for position for 8th and 9th at the moment. Bit of a climb back here for Will, because remember, they ran him long. Tyres degraded quite substantially towards the back end of his run, and then when they brought him in for the stop, the time that it takes to transit the lane, grab the fuel, put the wheels and tyres on and get back to your regular speed, buried him in the pack. Was nearly 50 seconds in total time.
Team High Flex of Tony D'Alberto back in the Holden colours. Make life easier at the family gatherings after spending last year in the Ford.
And this car, pointed out yesterday, but did a little wander around the pit lane, is entirely a Walkinshaw racing car. And in terms of the garage layout, they're right alongside the Holden Racing Team cars. So they're tethered, they get the data, they share the information, and they'll drink from their setup. That's his dad, Al D'Alberto, there. So they're off to a reasonable start. He's 14th at the moment, Tony. Our race leader is Craig Lowndes.
It's super temp behind Wincup, so clear track will help, and we'll move some length for the next one. So really good work. Nice and steady in the box, brake and clutch, mate. Perfect. Rears are done, just going to fix this headlight a bit. Just waiting on the fuel. Nothing in pit lane we're bothered by. All clear at the front. Be good to go once we drop down. Good to go, see ya. Freeze.
Well, this is Jamie Wincup deciding to come into pit lane. Red Bull Racing Australia have played his card now early, and he will go all the way to the finish. Just before this happened, Fabian Coulthard, who, as you know, has been trailing Wincup, trying to get around him, actually did get around him. So Wincup comes in. They put new tyres on, fill him up to go to the end of the race. And this is the move that the Lockwood Commodore got past. So Wincup just running a little bit wide on the entry to turn 14 onto the main straight. And that's where Coulthard put the power down and got by. Craig Lowndes leads the race by 19 seconds. Jason Bright has just done the fastest lap of the race. He's 18th. He's just posted a 122.54.
Now they're reacting, they're covering to make sure that they don't get jumped by a new tired Jamie Wincup mobile. So they're making sure that they're going to fight on equal terms here. That'll be a quick reaction there.
And when Wincup came in, they also fixed that front left that they didn't get to last time, so they've got race tape on there.
Very uncharacteristic, Neil, to see that mistake for Wincup.
Yes, very much so. So he has come out, so that was a good move there. They got the advantage. He came in the last couple of laps ahead of Wincup. Wincup peeled off. At Brad Jones Racing, Phil Keed, engineer, and his group, they've instantly reacted and gone, let's cover, get new tyres on, and it's worked out. So they hold their position. There's a bit of race tape now on the front left-hand corner of Wincup's car, just to cope with the scarring and the issue that Mark Larkham raced a little bit earlier, the effect that that has on the aero behaviour.
You would have seen there on your Coates Hire leaderboard, the leading car of the new mates is Rick Kelly, leading Nissan. He's in 8th. Terrific job by Scott McLaughlin, who continues to sit inside the top 6. It will now become top 5 because Shane Van Gisbergen is going to do his second stop.
Jason Bright just knocked out the quickest lap of the race, down in 18th, 122.54. A little bit slower than the pace this time last year. Entirely different motor car, though.
McLaughlin follows. Tander follows too.
Make sure on the brake when you plug a gear, mate. Make sure on the blank when you plug a gear. Train lane's going to be all clear. We're waiting for the fuel. All clear, mate. All clear.
Been a pretty good rescue job from the 23-year-old Kiwi who missed the start and just had to put his head down. He's done so.
He's going to jump Wincup.
Wincup, correct. So that is effectively third position. So the field will get jumbled a little bit on the leaderboard because there are those who will take their second stop at different times. So on the leaderboard, it's Craig Lowndes, then Alex Premer, Will Davison, James Courtney, Rick Kelly, Alex Davison, and then Fabian Coulthard. So Coulthard is effectively in second, and Gisbergen is a net third, and Wincup likewise in fourth.
We've been saying about the Brad Jones Racing cars and the speed that we've seen from Coulthard and Bright at the start of this season, but also Gary Rogers' team. Alex Premer currently second. As Neil said before, it was young Scott McLaughlin in the top 6. So it's a very, very good performance for these guys to roll straight out of the box and be right up there. You don't often see that man making a mistake. Holdsworth back in. They're going to do something to his boot, the right boot that we saw fire retardant material and tape applied to the previous stop. They're going to do another bit of surgery. Here we go. So they've made a pad and taped that. The problem is that the tape, it's so hot on there, the tape actually squirms off and you end up with that bit of stuff just running around in the footwell, which is actually quite wild. Rick Kelly, great job up at the 4th now as this field gets cleansed. So Lowndes, Premer, Davison, Kelly, Coulthard, Van Gisbergen. And there's Mark Larkham doing his best work, just standing there loitering.
Okay, what I want to show you, Scapey, thanks for that plug, mate. Hey, Rich, if you can just come with me, you can see this is what they've been using. Is that foam, that was just a sort of a temporary thing. But come with me, I'm going to show you the correct thing to do in this instance. You need to get a really good fire retardant material. Now, there's another sample there that they're trying. But if I just can go around the corner here to the tech centre, I want to show you why this is such a drama. I've just quickly drawn a picture here. This is your standard sort of road car. Here you sit. Here's your firewall. Here's your little engine. Might even be a battery in a current car. And you're running on rabbit food. And here's your brake pedal, and usually they pivot from up here, right? In a V8 supercar, we're talking 650 horsepower out of an engine. Lots of exhaust, close to the firewall down under here, but here's the clincher. The pedal boxes all mount to the floor, and they're pretty well used little aluminium bobbins and a lot of aluminium, great heat conductor. So all this heat, although they use some thermal insulation here, still migrates up through here, through the pedals and into the driver's foot. I just saw them on Ingall's car. What they've done is they've grabbed the ducting that comes in and shoots on the driver here, and they've redeflected that around here, and they're now blowing cold air over the top of the pedals. That's a good solution.
Yeah, we've always, that's actually been something at HRT that we've had the air onto the pedals for years. And it's something that over the period of time that you just get to know where the best air conditioning systems work. And the pedals, as you just pointed out, Larko, in the new car, with the engine moved back, one of the things that's happened with the engine moving back 100 mil, it's actually closer to the driver in that way, so it's made the heat condition worse.
So Lowndes, 29-second gap over Will Davison. 54-second gap over Fabian Coulthard. Lowndes will be sitting up in front of this field going, changes? What changes? There's no difference.
Jamie Wincup won't be saying that, because the dominance that he displayed last year and that little mistake we saw him make at the final corner, Fabian Coulthard pass now, Van Gisbergen come out in front. So in genuine speed at the moment, he's not going well enough against two of the competitors like BJR and Techno Motorsport. And there's Wincup in the background there, in the foreground, the two cars that I made reference to.
Yeah, that's interesting too, Scapey, is that Wincup hasn't been able to climb back on the rear of Van Gisbergen, probably because Shane has just done the fastest lap of the race. 122.36 is the new benchmark. And he's got a bit of traffic in front of him, so he's got ultimate speed at this stage of the race in car 97.
I've got the car.
He could give a bit of cheek in the closing stages, because his speed, obviously through practice and for qualifying, was very, very good. Terrible start. He's worked his way back up to the pointy end again, and he's really got to do something about Coulthard and again, we haven't seen a safety car yet. Normally, I think there's only 2 races ever that haven't had a safety car.
Well, you want to bet on it. The incidence of a safety car here, the probability is incredibly high. We had a shot up there at Red Bull Racing Australia a moment ago, as they've got to prepare now for the second stop for Craig Lowndes. Deal with how that's going to play. He's racing Fabian Coulthard. He's got a margin at the moment, but you've still got to be very careful.
It's a 92% chance of having a safety car in these races. You remember, though, the last race that we had here in 2012 on the Sunday, we didn't have one, so we've never had 2 races in a row where there hasn't been a safety car. We're not trying to jinx it. It's just an extraordinary figure.
So even though Will Davison's second in the queue at the moment, you'll see that on the leaderboard tape, he's still to make his second stop. So Lowndes and Davison 1 stop apiece. There he is making his second stop. So right on cue, Craig comes in now.
We've got you for 4 stackers again. And a drink of juice.
We're watching his margin.
Can I get you on the brake and the clutch, please, mate? Brake and clutch for us. Nice and steady in
to
here.
Fabian Coulthard. So Will take the lead here in car 6, but he's effectively not racing him. It's Fabian Coulthard that he's racing.
And the stop time, it won't be a complete full fill here. So 28 seconds to fully fill the car.
If you're good to go into drop now.
So he's going to pop out in front of Fabian Coulthard.
Good to go, good to go.
Will give you that lap time, or that time difference, and there's Davison at the same time coming in.
Hit him hard.
Go, that's it.
About 17 or 18 seconds of fuel for Lowndes in that stop. They needed
Okay, all the wheels are done.
assuming
All
they
the wheels are
started
done.
fully.
Go, 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 go,
You've got to sit down and plot where everybody starts and stops, because they've got to bring on just a little over 100 litres of fuel to complete this race. How you do it, when you choose to stop, depends on traffic, what your lap speed's like, and this is the game that everyone's playing. So that's now 2 stops for both Lowndes and Will Davison, and that puts them on equal footing with everybody else as they now drop back in and see where they feed into the order.
Will comes in behind Jonathan Webb, the Techno Autosports car. So Lowndes at the front of the field by 17.8 seconds as he goes in search of his 5th race win on this Adelaide street circuit. Welcome back to the Clipsal 500, Red Bull Racing Australia. They dominated the series over the last 5 years as Team Vodafone, with Jamie Wincup winning 4 drivers' titles. They've been smashing the record books with race wins, but today it's Craig Lowndes' turn, with one eye on the record books to become the first winner in this new look V8 supercar category and possibly post his 90th career race win and go equal on the all-time list with Mark Skaife. But this is representative of the changing face of this sport. The 2 Erebus Motorsport E63 AMGs of Tim Slade, and behind him is Lee Holdsworth. Marco?
Well, Alexander Premer and Scotty McLaughlin both in the top 10, apart from the fact that you possibly are the coolest customer in pit lane, Gary. You are more relaxed than I've seen you for a while. You must be happy.
Well, I am happy. Why wouldn't you be? I mean, it's been a lot of work, and these guys here, seriously. I mean, you know, you're close to it, but I have not really had anything under 18-hour days since October. And to end up doing this, and it isn't over yet, we know that, but it is a real credit to this lot, believe me.
Yeah, but yet again, you've put your faith in a guy from overseas who's now delivering, and you've put your faith in a young guy. Well done, mate, because I think you've made 2 very good decisions.
Well, when Alex decided to get the girls from the Folly Bergers deal, mate, that just sealed the deal. It was done immediately.
You're a legend.
That is so Gary Rogers, isn't it? Hey, Just down here, and Jason Bright, we're keeping an eye on with Brad Jones. And Brad, you've played the strategy of bringing him in early and getting the stops done. Looks like it'll play out all right for Jason.
Well, I think it will. He's had a pretty rough race. He got into the pit lane, had to back up, and he's been caught up in a couple of other melees, but he's in a very fast car. It's just a pity that we haven't been able to hit our marks at a couple of points. And so I think he'll probably get up into the top 10, but you know, he probably could have been stronger.
You take that for the first race of the year, top 10 finish?
Absolutely for Jason. With Fabian, you know, we should have short-filled him a little bit like they did with Lowndes, so he got caught behind Wincup, and really he was in a position where we couldn't do anything. The brakes were starting to go off the planet. We had to get him in, get the brake ducts out of it, cool the thing down. He's fast now, and I think he and Shane and Lowndes are all pretty much around the same place, but, you know, I've been outmanoeuvred in this instance.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks.
Interesting, Brad talks about the brake ducting. See those ducts on the front of the car and the left and right side, either side of the radiator intake. I was really surprised cruising up and down the lane the last couple of days just how much brake blocker we've seen in the front of the cars, because it's a big issue here when there's traffic around, how the brake temps escalate. It's a hot day and it's been getting hotter through the course of the week. Earlier in the week it was actually quite cool. Also bad sportsmanship flag for this man, Jonathan Webb, for too much aggressive use of the curbing down at turn 2. So he's on a warning now. He'll have to be very careful.
So if he has one more strike, he gets a pit lane penalty. So Lowndes, Coulthard, Van Gisbergen, Wincup, Davison, Webb, Prema, Courtney, Scott McLaughlin and Garth Tander. That's the top 10. Russell Ingall just behind there.
And that's John's dad, Steve Webb. John O. Webb with Police Project 40 livery this weekend. Road safety, especially around schools. So if he does come through the pit lane, he'll write his own ticket. But he's top 10, and sister car, Shane Van Gisbergen, car 97, is top 3.
It's worth it, isn't it, having 2 cars in the top 10. These cars are being built at Triple Eight Race Engineering, so same spec as the Red Bull cars. It's the way it was last year as well with the old generation car. And here's Tim Slade. Now Slade still only has 1 stop to his name. He's got to do his second stop, but he's up in 13th at the moment. So far, so good in this beautiful sounding Mercedes-Benz E63 AMG. So it looks like it's been a good, strong, reliable run, and he's got Lee Holdsworth tucked in behind him there at the moment. Heavy Haulage Australia joining that program this year. So 3 different cars and liveries different on all 3 of them. But a lot of people in and around this precinct in the last couple of days have expressed the sheer delight at just listening to the car. We'll try and listen to it in the background here and just the look of the cars.
It's a juicy sound, isn't it?
Oh, it's great.
So Betty Klemenko has come into V8 Supercars, all guns are blazing. She shed a tear the other day when the cars rolled out for the first time. She said to me earlier today, I'm so proud of what we've achieved in just 3 months to get these cars here. They weren't expecting results today. They're not expecting results for a few rounds. But she was so proud. She said, if we can do this in 3.5 months, just imagine what we can do in 6 months. And this was Betty on the left-hand side there. That's her CEO of Erebus Motorsport, Ryan Madison. She's a 53-year-old grandmother. It's well documented she comes from enormous wealth, and she's here to stay. She wants to make her mark in Australian motorsport, not just V8 Supercars, but in Australian motorsport. They're a top-notch outfit. They've taken over one of the most successful outfits and a well-run outfit of Stone Brothers Racing, and Ross Stone is still in there overseeing the program. So they've started from scratch effectively with these new AMGs.
This is another of the Triple Eight Race Engineering built cars. Dean Fiore, Dodo Car Insurance backing this program this year. Fairly battle-scarred. Jason Bright coming in. We just heard from Brad Jones about their strategy. The head of the HWA engine program is down at...
punctured tyre or something. It just locked the brake and nearly didn't turn at turn 8.
So it's Bright, Jason Bright, front right-hand corner. Looks like it's the issue. You can hear it scraping. We'll have a look and a listen.
His heart would have been in his mouth if that happened on approach to turn 8.
Great shot of the overhead view of the entire pit complex, all the hospitality area, and the transporters out the back. And the transporters are as much a part of the show as the race cars for some of the fans, and just having a look and see whether or not there's a structural issue with the front right-hand corner of that car. But I was going to say that Alex is down there from the HWA at the moment. The people have actually put the engine program together. There was 30 people back in Germany who've worked tirelessly to get those engines running in a really short period of time. So they've got experience with their Formula 3 engine and their German Touring Car Championship engine. This was an entirely new proposition. Twin cam, quad cam engine, overhead valve, unbelievable machine.
Like I was cautious through a staircase where I didn't have any problems. It was turn 8, but it just didn't turn.
On this now, Brody, they're going to put it in the shed.
It's been a hot, long and hard day at the Clipsal 500. These cars battered and bruised, these crews working overtime. And our extreme slow motion camera capturing all the action for you down here at turn 9. Big lock-up. That was the problem for Jason Bright. Now, he said over the radio that it was just on approach to turn 8 that he was really worried the car wouldn't turn in. Will Davison on the inside of Jamie Wincup. So Will gets the position there, number 4, and Jonathan Webb has found the wall. He will go out of the top 10. Good effort by David Wall. That could have been really nasty as they arrived on the scene. Now Russell Ingall will try and thread his way past. So Webb has now dropped down to 10th spot.
That was a great job, David Wall. Very, very good bit of driving. Instead of locking the wheels and running straight into Webb, so Webb goes off at turn 4, hits pretty heavy contact actually there with the outside barrier, tries to back it back, and the next shot was David Wall with the wheels almost locked. He got around the corner and didn't run into Webb. He did a really good job of driving that car.
And it was a combination there too. You never expect really for the drivers to grab reverse that quickly, but Jonathan Webb got onto it so fast that he just came straight back out. And that was a very close moment. The V8 Supercar app is up and running again. Lucas Dumbrell, the team principal of Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport, is taking full advantage of it. So download the app. It's a wonderful addition to V8 Supercar coverage. Wagon on your lap. Keep us on the telly. You've got the whole thing covered. And there's one of his entries, Scott Pye. So Lucas has 2 cars running this season. Scott's in 15th. Dean Fiore in car 88 is in position 20.
Matty, this is a real piece of history this weekend. Erebus Motorsport are here. Betty Clemenco, the team boss, is in the garage. Betty, you must, at moments like this, you must just pinch yourself that it really has happened. You're a team owner, the cars are on the track, and it's all happening.
Oh, it's very real now. Yesterday it wasn't, today it's very, very real.
And what about the response from fans? I mean, I know just walking around Clipsal this weekend, people are in the Erebus gear. They've got right behind you. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, it's more than amazing. I thought maybe a few people. We didn't have much merchandise, but they've just had to keep bringing it in and bringing it in. And it's so good to see.
Personally for you, how's this been?
I've still got goosebumps. And then after this, I've got the GT race. So it's a dream that's finally here. It's finally happening.
And Betty, what were your expectations for this weekend? What did you want to achieve here at Clipsal?
What I want to achieve, one little step more forward, and then next time another step forward. I'm not here to dominate. I'm not here to do anything like that. I'm here to learn the cars. So that's exactly what we're going to do.
Well, it's fantastic. You've inspired a lot of women in motorsport too, Betty. Well done.
Thank you.
She loves to change her hair colour around. She likes the tattoos. She always wears black. But the one thing that Betty Clemenco really loves is motorsport. It's her passion.
This thing's dropping oil.
What's the problem, mate? What's the problem?
Well,
Bruce Jenkins, it is team manager on the right.
And this will be hard to take for Van Gisbergen. He's put, and the team, obviously, he's put all the hard work into getting back into the top 5. He was provisionally on the podium when this happened. So we might be able to find this as we watch Lowndes come around.
Wow! He nearly rotated. Apparently there's a fair bit of oil out there, and we think that it relates to the Van Gisbergen stop. So here's Courtney and Strife at
that's the oil.
turn
That's
6
the oil.
as well. He just gets away with it. So it's up at that end of the circuit, and they're all over the place as they discover it for the first time, and we think this is the source.
So Shane's out of the car.
Phil Young, trainer on the left there, and straight off with the boots because the footwell temperatures, as Mark Larkin pointed out before, are massive.
He may have stuck to the pedals when he got out.
So bad news for Techno with Van Gisbergen out, and Webb now with his 4th curb overuse.
On the back of that collection with the wall as well.
That's right, so he'll have to come in through the pits also. So
it can change in an instant. There's definitely oil still out there. So second time around, Lowndes uses it to his advantage this time.
Yeah, he's a little more cautious in his mid-corner speed. He didn't attack it as aggressively, but he lit it up on the way out.
You can just imagine what he's thinking. Great, there's oil there. I'll just get this thing sideways. He can afford it. At the moment, he's got a 20-second lead over Fabian Coulthard. Will Davison is flying a solo flag for the Blue Oval boys inside the top 10. Let's see how this one unfolds. Well, the changes continue inside the top 5. Lowndes is still a comfortable leader. It's better now. It's out to 25 seconds from Will Davison, who's second. But the big problem is this man, Fabian Coulthard. He's now dropped to 6th. As we went to the break, he was second, and he has no brakes. So he really can't do anything at the moment but trundle around.
If it's dangerous, bring it in. You're going to lose, spots to everyone that's on the same lap anyway. So, yeah, if you think it's dangerous and you can't keep going, then bring it in.
This is where he lost the bulk amount of time. Initially, he was second, and all of a sudden, we looked up on the computer and he was 4th.
10 laps to go, 10 laps to go.
Now, I wonder if he's got the same problem as Jason Bright, because we heard Bradley say that the brake temps went off the clock and they pulled the blockers out to cool off the brakes. So I wonder whether they've just induced this themselves. So it's hard to see because of the colour of the front of the car.
But I think what you've got to do now, Neil, is just come in, because it just doesn't make sense with a new car. If they've got no brakes, then you've just got to find a way to come in and sort it out.
Yeah, a bit hard to talk to anyone down here in the Brad Jones pit. They're obviously panicking a bit, but I just heard Brad saying he's got no brakes, so he's obviously had a brake issue. Bigger problem is they can't get him in the garage because the other car's in here.
Hey, Larko, if you get a minute, go and ask BJ whether they're running a heap of blocker in the front of it, just so we can arrest that question.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see him in picture now. He's in full team owner mode, mate. I'm staying about 6 metres away.
So that's a free kick for Wincup, who was out of the podium contention at that point. Now has jumped into 3rd spot. Alex Premer, who's done a really good job, is car 34, and they've just withdrawn the black flag for Jonathan Webb and have put him back to 3 strikes. So he must have been a controversial 4th strike.
They'll have argued it possibly because of the oil. He may have slipped up over the curbs because of the oil, and they've gone and explained that that's effectively force majeure. Now, this car's got no visible window net, Dean Fiore, so they've got a mechanical black flag for that as they try and deal with it. See the crew just working on there. So it's come out of the latch, and I think it's Frank Adamson there from V8 Supercar, category technical manager, just making sure that it's fixed to his satisfaction. He's on the right-hand side of the screen.
And on the left, we had Craig Lowndes as they continue the work here in pit lane. Lowndes is just having the dream run.
Yeah, I'm just down the back of Bridie's pits. I've just nicked their shock absorber, so I can show that too if I bring it out the front of the pit lane. Talking to Brad Jones, they saw a slight weep on the front caliper, the front brake caliper of Coulthard's car at the last pit stop. Now his pedal's getting longer, so they're going to obviously pull the wheels off and they'll bleed the brakes now. These are the bleed bottles you can see. Just got knocked over on the ground there to get any air that's in the system, and there's nothing worse for a race driver than to have a long brake pedal. That is the worst thing. Now, if you can have a look here, this is Fabian Coulthard's shock absorber. Sorry, this is Jason Bright's shock absorber. They've fired another one in there. Look at that, bent like a banana. That's just from hitting curbs around here. And there goes Bridie behind me, so new shock and they're out of there.
Well, that's a massive bend.
Never seen that. I've never seen that.
No.
Normally it'll either pop
These AP Racing brake calipers on the cars this year have got a single bleed nipple as well. Previously with the Alcon brake caliper we had, there were 2 bleed nipples on either side of the caliper, so it's a bit different. The bleed process is a little bit different for the team, so that's a time-consuming process, bleeding air out of the system now. These are all the new toy gremlins that we likely expected. Frankly, we didn't see much in the early part of the weekend, but racing is a very different thing.
Isn't it weird that we spoke about how 2013 was just a clean slate, yet 1st and 2nd on the road, Lowndes and Davison, Will Davison, were the 2 guys that won the last 2 races of 2012 on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park. And here's Will's older brother, Alex Davison. V8 Supercar fans will know him well. He wasn't driving in the series last year. And it's great to see him back in car 18, and he's inside the top 10. He's 9th. So the 10 is Lowndes, Davison, Wincup. Alex Premer, 4th. James Courtney is 5th. Scott McLaughlin is 6th. So the 2 Fujitsu GRM cars are inside the top 6. Garth Tander is 7th. And it's Jonathan Webb, this car that we're watching of Alex, and Russell Ingall make up the 10.
Hey boys, just while we got the opportunity, Scafey, we were talking earlier about the brake. So some of the brake issues leading up to this event, but you've resolved them clearly, mate, because if you have a look at this brake disc, that's copped some absolute punishment around here. That, to me, looks like in very good shape, considering the punishment. Just some light grooving there, certainly no surface cracking. Well done, mate, looks good, good solution.
Yeah, well, I think that part of it's fine. It's a weird issue that he's got there, Larko, because to lose the brake pedal in the race itself like that, you've got to have some hydraulic failure. So whether it's the bleed nipples come loose or they've overheated, and when the material overheats like that, the aeration of the fluid makes the compressibility of the fluid worse, so you end up getting a long pedal from that. So we'll have to get to the bottom of what's actually going on, but the brakes, for sure, with the wheel size increase and the bigger brake, very, very good. Drivers love them.
Just got a bad sportsmanship flag to David Reynolds as well in the foreground there in car number 55, left rear corner of Russell Ingall's car in the Super Cheap Auto entry. Amazing, isn't it? You know, the thing that's extraordinary when I just look up and down the leaderboard at the moment, to stop and consider who's doing what. Remember last year was such an incredible run between two top teams, Triple Eight and Ford Performance Racing, and the point you made before that they're back there doing it again. It's a couple of really important and impressive points though. I think Scott McLaughlin's run into 6th is brilliant, and his teammate Alex Premer, who had a hell of a year last year. Garth Tander, that's been an awesome fight back for him, considering he was down in 18th after qualifying. We saw Alex Davison there a moment ago to sneak into the top 10 for Charlie Schwerkolt and Geldwin and all those people. That's a Ford Performance Racing car, and there with the bled brakes.
Sorry about that, mate. Just be cautious, pretty sure you've got a pedal.
So that's Phil Key. Brakes sorted, hopefully now for Fabian. Caution is the word there in this next lap, just an exploratory to see what it's doing, and then he can get on with the job.
He has driven very well. The race run that he did yesterday was a feature of the practice session because he was the only guy who did that length run, and he did them on old tyres. So they were 15 laps old, and then he did 19 laps. So for Lowndes now with a 25-second lead, as he ranges up behind the two Norton Nissan Altimas. Here's the field coming.
This shows us the gaps.
We might have to wait a while because next in the list, in terms of pure racing, is Will Davison. He is 25.5 seconds back. There will be other cars coming through. They're all out of sync. And here comes Will. So that's the gap between first and second. 25.5 seconds. Craig Lowndes is en route to claiming the biggest ever winning margin in the history of this Clipsal event. He has blitzed them. There's Maro Ingall back out there circulating. There goes Alex Premer, terrific job. James Courtney too, same with Scott McLaughlin. So the two Fujitsu cars, the two HRT cars, comfortably inside the top 10. Bright, we know, has had his struggles. There's Jonathan Webb holding down 8th. Here's Alex Davison, terrific return to the sport. Fabian Coulthard, what a pity. He did such a great job in the early part of this race. He was so satisfied that after all of the hard work that the team put in, he was thinking about the crew when he qualified inside the top 5. He said they haven't seen their family for months, so it's satisfying to be able to go out there and start this race on the second row of the grid. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way after such a spectacular run early in the race. He led more than 20 laps. And back we come to Lowndes.
And when we showed you the whole field there were some really interesting aspects to how this is rolled out for Gary Rogers. We just said before about Alex Premer in 4th. Scott McLaughlin is right up behind Courtney. He's going to be battling for 5th spot. Tander forged his way through fantastically. Rick Kelly in 11th position. First run back for Nissan Motorsport in 20 years. Scott Pye, first run in the main game, 13th. James Moffat, 14th. And Tim Slade, first run for the AMG E63 in 15th spot. They are the standout performances of the field. A couple of real losers out of this were obviously Fabian Coulthard. He should have been on the podium today. They've been very, very fast.
What about Lowndes? 38 years of age now. 7 race wins last year to be second in the championship yet again. In the off-season, he went off to Monte Carlo to live the lifestyles of the rich and the famous and play in the rallies. He started this year by being given the news that he won the CAMS Peter Brock medal for 2012. As we know, that's something close to his heart. He's often called the people's champion, and especially here at Clipsal. When it all started back in 1999, he was the one who stood on the top step of the podium. It went over 2 days back then, but was considered one race. So he became the inaugural Clipsal 500 winner. There's so much Holden support in the grandstands here, and they've witnessed Lowndes at his ultimate best. You can throw all the balls in the air, which is exactly what's happened in V8 Supercars. So many new changes. We've talked about a clean slate, new cars, new everything. He's managed to get pace out of this car, reliability out of this car, and he's done the thing that he knows best. He knows how to drive around this circuit as Craig Lowndes. What he's showing today is you can give him different machinery, new machinery. He's still Craig Lowndes, one of our greatest all-time drivers.
Absolutely, and today's drive is one of the best we've ever seen from him. You've already said about the margin, but to get your brain around driving new cars and finding what they like, he's got great natural ability, and this has really shone today. They've done a remarkable job, and this guy, Alex Premer, and you can see in the background there, young Scott McLaughlin giving James Courtney a hurry up with only 3 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see how much pressure McLaughlin puts on Courtney, because he's made a lot of ground. He's really in contention for the top 5.
And both the Fujitsu Racing boys, Alex Premer and Scott McLaughlin, have got to this point in the race clean of any hops over the top of the curb. That's important, because it does mean that if they've got to pull something extra in those last desperate laps to hold a position or make one, then perhaps you can be a bit more flamboyant over the curb. So we saw last year, for example, that Triple Eight were able to do that with Wincup. I think even to some extent with Lowndes from memory. So they played that card very well. But it's interesting that those guys have got this far in the race that clean.
That left-hand front damage for Courtney will be hurting the front aero of that car quite significantly. So in the faster stuff, McLaughlin should be better off. This is one of the spots. This is turn 3 up to turn 4. What Neil said is he can run through those curbs and get a run, so you can see the level of pressure that he's putting on Courtney now. And the other spot that he can make ground, that was a bit of a moment on the way in to the left-hander. It got sideways, it caught the curb at the wrong time, and it almost dragged the wheel out of his hands. You can see that little bit of the margin that he lost there.
What a lot of the drivers have been talking about too, the low-speed turn-in oversteer, they describe it. So they're turning the steering wheel, pointing the car at the corner, often with a little bit of trail brake and brake load in the car, and the rear isn't quite accepting it. It's only a problem in the low speed at the moment. They've got the medium and high speed corners pretty well sorted, but the low speed second gear corners, like we saw there at turn 4, you saw how quick McLaughlin had to quickly apply full opposite lock, catch the car. He has to completely relieve the throttle when he does that, come back out to very close to 0%, and there's a little moment where you just hold your breath, caught it, and then off you go again.
He'll be being counselled by Richard Holway at the moment. Richard, very experienced, he'll be saying to him, drive it hard, but don't make a mistake. He's lost some ground on that lap, so it may be that he just puts the white flag up a little bit and says, I'm just going to contain myself here and finish 6th. Very good, clean run for his first run properly. He drove at Sydney, we saw him there, he did a very good job.
Neil, it's an interesting observation, that little oversteer condition you talk about, and I can't help but think with Lowndes' dominance here, because typically you would have dialed that out during the course of the race. We talked about the lack of that roll centre adjuster. So if Lowndes' car is in the window and several around him are just out of it, they haven't been able to readjust, away he goes.
And he's got a unique driving style. We've discussed it many times. Mark and I spent a lot of time with him testing and racing. The way he runs the car into the corner on the loaded front tyre probably to some extent helps him create a little bit of his own understeer here to help balance and offset that turn-in oversteer. It's rather unique. You see him dive at the corner. He takes a shallower line very often. He's not one of those guys that will always necessarily run on the widest approach and entry to a corner, not necessarily parallel to the outside of the racetrack. So he diagonals to the corner. sort of does it with the tyre loaded and his foot on the brake. Maybe he's just finding a way around it, which has been a career hallmark of his, be able to drive around stuff. Clearly got the car working pretty well, but I suspect a little bit of the advantage that we're seeing here is unique to the way in which he drives.
No doubt. And one of those things for him, because this car achieves its mid-corner speed a different way, and they're actually faster around the mid-corner. So say through turn 8, they're about 8 to 10 k's faster than the old cars. That suits his style, absolutely. And today is the example that we've seen demonstrating that level. How's the slide?
Right there. Yeah,
well, today...
What he does coming off the corner is a completely different story.
And he's doing it again. Today he's going to smash the record books here, because this will be the greatest ever winning margin in a race at the Clipsal 500. He won the first ever event back in 1999. And right now in this new era of Australian motorsport, Craig Lowndes drives into the history books. His 90th career win.
What a bloody day.
And the first for the VF Commodore by more than 20 seconds over a fighting Ford Performance Pepsi Max crew. FG Falcon of Will Davison. And Red Bull Racing Australia will come around for a 1 and 3 on the podium. Here comes our 2012 Series champ, Jamie Wincup, in third.
Great start to the year.
A terrific drive by the Frenchman Alex Premer in fourth. Gary Rogers and his crew will be absolutely delighted with today, because James Courtney...
Where did we finish? Because I don't know.
You finished fourth, Alex. James Courtney has split them, so Courtney in fifth and Scotty McLaughlin in sixth in his first ever full-time year of V8 Supercars at just 19 years of age. So there's a lot to celebrate all round. It's been a tough day for FPR, but they are on the podium. It's been another great day for Red Bull Racing Australia. And Lowndes is now equal at the top of the list in terms of all-time race wins in the Australian Touring Car Championship or V8 Supercars on 90 with Mark Skaife. There's some battered and bruised cars and drivers out there. Shane Van Gisbergen, our pole sitter, would end up in 24th position. So look at that, 20.5 seconds from first to second. Lowndes to Davison and Wincup. There's Alex Premer in fourth position. That equals, rather that is his career best finish. Rick Kelly in 11th. Great to see Russell Ingall inside the top 10 in his final weekend of racing at the Adelaide Street Circuit. It's his last year full-time, and then the tale of woe down the bottom of Ingall, Johnny Reid, Todd Kelly and Mark Winterbottom, who started on the front row of the grid but finished in the garage with a mechanical problem. So Roland Dane and his crew, there's been an enormous amount of hard work and effort right along pit lane just to get these cars to the grid. They've had no time off. And Lowndes gets his 5th race win at this circuit. That puts him equal with Marcus Ambrose. And he'll celebrate with the team. This has been a team effort. These are the ones that mean so much. Will Davison, good effort to be on the podium. And here comes Jamie Wincup. That car just wasn't dialed in like we're used to seeing car number one. A few things fell his way to get him on the podium at the end, but he was there and fighting. And in typical Craig Lowndes style, it looks as though he's, you know, just gone for another Saturday drive.
That is the golden moment, isn't it, when you come here and you turn around to that massive crowd and put your hands up and they salute you. What an incredible day. Congratulations, mate. First win for Car of the Future, first win for Team Red Bull. Well done.
Oh, look, it's been sensational. It's been a hell of a Christmas for all these guys at Red Bull Racing Australia to not only get ours completed, but to all the customer cars. And you're right, Brett, to get out here in front of this massive crowd. It's been one hell of a day and it's been a hell of a weekend. And I can honestly tell you, this is the best COF car that I've raced.
Exactly. The only one, but anyway. Lounsey, for you, that it just all clicked, didn't it? I mean, we've been a lot of talk and speculation about whether the cars are right, where you've got them to where you want them to be. You've obviously got the 888 car to exactly where you want it.
Oh, look, I think it suits my style a little better than last year. I can flow the car through the corner, I can look after the tyres, but look, we still got more to come. I think that's the beauty of us, we're not going to stop. So, look, great for FPR to be up here, and obviously Jamie as well. So it's it's been great. Just got to say hello to Levi and Chili back home, but look, Brett's, I can't say any more. It's been a hell of a day.
And not a bad winning margin either. Enjoy the podium, Lounsey. Well done.
I will, thank you.
Great way to start the year, of course. You saw Will Davison just a moment ago come and congratulate Craig Lowndes. Will, well done. Outstanding, great way to start the year. Gee, I guess the trick for tomorrow is how do you catch Craig Lowndes?
Yeah, I didn't see Craig the whole race. I was coming from position 7, so I was running quite a different strategy. I really enjoyed that race. We had very good tyre life. We stretched our windows much longer, but they told me I was 4th when I thought I was 3rd, and then I picked my way through and I couldn't even see Craig. So listen, this is a very good start for FPR. Congratulations to every single member of FPR, and obviously a great result to have Pepsi Max on our car this year. And these are tricky cars, but we have really progressed fast, so awesome start.
I know it was important to you, and you said during the team launch early this year that you really wanted to make this year a winning year, but you've certainly got off on the right foot today at Clipsal.
Yeah, we have, and got great memories from last year here, and it's a special event. It's great to be racing in such a huge crowd, in front of such a huge crowd. So different cars to drive than last year. It was a busy 78 laps, but I'm glad I split these two to keep all the Ford fans happy, and rest assured we'll be going hard tomorrow to get the number 1.
Well done, Will. Rest up. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Congratulations.
Yep, and g'day to Margie and Tony and my mum and everyone at home. Cheers.
Good on you, Will. Well done. And Jamie Wincup, well, no stranger to being up on the podium. Jamie, congratulations. A great performance once again, and you kick-start your year. This is a good way to get things rolling.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. We didn't quite have the pace then, but what an amazing achievement by everyone at Red Bull Racing Australia. 1 and 3 after the 3 months we've had, building 8 cars is a full credit to them. I'm just looking at my car. I've never had so much damage without hitting another car or a wall.
On to tomorrow. Jamie, what was it like from the driver's point of view? I mean, obviously, there's been a lot to get your head around. You come here to what is effectively your grand final for the first race of the year. Massive crowd, massive pressure. How was the excitement and the nerve level today?
Hey, without doubt, the nerves were up at the start of the race. No one knew what was going to happen, so we all put our best foot forward. Cars are radically different, so it's going to be a real challenge now for the next 6 months to really refine these cars. And we start off at a pretty low base, or well, I do. Lounsey was absolutely dominating, but we'll work away as the year goes on. But a podium, got to be happy with that.
We'll let you get up there and enjoy it. Well done, Jamie.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, 2 of the happiest blokes on pit lane. A couple of teammates just having a chatty. Well, new teammates, Scotty McLaughlin and Alex Premer. 4th and 6th. Firstly, great result. I'll start with you, Alex, mate. Gary put a bit of faith in you to come back this year. I think that was the right decision. A lot of us do, and you must be so pleased. You come back to a circuit, you've been here, you now know a little bit more about the category. You must be a happy man.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so happy about the result here. For me first and for the team, because they worked so hard. But definitely it was a big challenge for Gary last year just to put me in the car. But at the end, after 1 year, like we have seen today, it worked well. So, just learn out the track, the racing in V8, the cars, the team, and that's been really hard last year for me. It was a lot of doubt on me for this year, but what I did today was amazing, and Scotty as well. So I'm really pleased to be here in the grid, and I think we will have some champagne during the year.
I'm very happy too, mate. I'm very happy now. Don't go, because I just noticed there's already some good chemistry between you guys, and that's important in a team, particularly when you've got to develop these new cars. Scotty, to come out of the development series into here, P6, how tough was this for you, mate? Because you've not done something like this before.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. They said if you can get through Clipsal, you can get through any event of the year, and I trust that now, man. That was tough. I can't even lift my right arm at the moment, so hopefully I can do it tomorrow. Otherwise I have to get somebody else in. But no, I'm sweet. Mate, that's hard, but dream come true, and 6th place and 4th for the boys is GRM. It's all for them.
And just tell me, mate, so you say it's tough. Is it the heat in the car? Is it the numbness in your legs? Is it the physical thing? What's hard about it? Or is it maintaining your concentration for that amount of time?
Yeah, I think it's that concentration. It's the cool suit worked fine, thankfully, but, I I felt good apart from that, but it's just the length of time that you got to keep concentrated, and there's oil on the track and there's lap cars, and it's so much different to what I'm used to. So to come away with a 6th place in top 10, my aim was top 15, and I'm stoked to be in top 10. Top 6 is awesome.
One of the big issues we saw on the pit lane today was actually drivers getting their feet burnt, you know, because so much heat coming through the firewall. Any issues for you guys?
Oh, no, that's fine. So we get new shoes from Frame, so it's a really good material. So looks all right. Yeah, a bit damaged, but it looks all right.
Do that again, I'm going to push you over again. Anyway, look, sincerely, there's a lot of people really happy. You're a great pair of blokes. Keep an eye on these fellas. It's a great little team. Very, very happy for you both.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
A bit of champagne to flow, I think, as Alex Premer said, throughout the year at Fujitsu GRM, and it's great to see them smiling after such a long, hard day, but that's what happens when you finish both cars inside the top 6. All right, let's get to the podium to crown our champions on this first race of 2013.
Clipsal 500 Adelaide, would you please congratulate our place getters in first place for Red Bull Racing Australia, Craig Lowndes. In second place, Will Davison, Pepsi Max Crew FPR Ford. And in third place, Jamie Wincup, Red Bull Racing Australia. Representing the winning team is Ludo Lacroix from Red Bull Racing Australia. Making the presentation to third place is Mr. Andrew Ford, the chairman, South Australian Motorsport Board. Presenting to second place, Mr. Jeff Timms, the Director of Sales for our major sponsor, Clipsal by Schneider Electric. Making the presentation to Red Bull Racing Australia, our winning team, is the Honourable Leon Bignell, MP, Minister for Motorsport. And presenting the first place trophy to Craig Lowndes is the Honourable Jay Weatherill, MP, Premier of South Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2013 Clipsal 500 Adelaide Race 1 winners.